which is Vincent Company, formerly of Manchester City, gave an interview with the BBC in which he said that Virgil van Dijk is the greatest defender in Premier League history. Now, his argument here was that Liverpool had a great team before Van Dijk arrived, but obviously had frailties at the back, and essentially Van Dijk single-handedly resolved them. Now, I think that's a little bit generous, given that we've also seen the development of Trent, Andy Robertson, Fabinho came in as a DM. But I did look at the stats, and in the first half of the season before Van Dijk joined in 17-18, Liverpool had the fourth best defence in the Prem by expected goals. They were allowing about 1 a game, so you'd expect them to concede about a goal a game, which is pretty good, but not amazing. Over the remaining half of that season, they had the second best defence and conceded 0.8 expected goals a game. So if you extrapolate that over the course of a season, it's the difference between conceding 38 goals a season and conceding 30, which is a pretty sizable difference. Now, to me, I think it's actually kind of a difficult time to make this argument because as much as everyone loves Van Dijk, I think he was better last year. I truly do. But Dave, I saw you kind of give a little grimace when I said what Company said. What do you think about this claim that Van Dijk is the best defender in PL history?
I think Virgil van Dijk is... I have never seen a player improve a single team as much as he has in terms of one player going into a team and lifting, like the whole style of play, the way that he secure, like they are a different machine than Virgil van Dijk. And obviously, like the stats kind of back that up. And I think he has improved players around him as well, which again is very, very important. I think the manager he's playing under as well deserves a lot of credit for that. The way that Jurgen Klopp has managed to build a system that Virgil van Dijk was almost like the missing piece. I think he is a world-class defender as well. But I do not believe he is the greatest defender in Premier League history. I think in my opinion, and this actually pains me to say it, but I think the greatest defender in Premier League history is actually John Terry. And I exactly, a little bit of sitcom as well. But I think he was the most consistent defender year in, year out. I think, that season, what was it, 2005, where they conceded like 9 goals or something. I don't know what it was.
They conceded 9 goals away that season. They conceded 15 goals in the Prem that season. That is
like ridiculous. Like that's and that again, there was a fake quote knocking about this week as well from Michael Ballack. I don't know if you guys saw it. It's actually found out to be that it's not actually real, when it was essentially saying Virgil van Dijk never played against your Henrys, your Shearers, even your players like Adebayors and stuff like that. Like the era he's playing in, you've kind of got Aguero, who's again world class, Aubameyang, Kane. That's kind of it really in terms of top tier strikers, because obviously the other two are playing at Liverpool, so he's not going to have to play against them. And I think the era that John Terry played in as well. I think there's probably in terms of strikers within the league. I think I would potentially argue that the level was probably higher than what it is now. I think there's still world-class strikers in the Premier League now, but I think if you look at the group of strikers, I think the level was higher when John Terry was playing, and I think he did it for longer. And I think he was. I think the impact he had at Chelsea, and the way that he led that Chelsea team as well. And again, it does pains me to say, because kind of as an Arsenal fan and kind of personally, I'm not the biggest fan of John Terry, but I think as a player and just actually defending, and putting his body where he needs to put it in order to stop goals and to then lead and set that example. I think, again, pains me to say, John Terry was probably the best defender in Premier League history. I originally, when you sent me this question the other day, my head was like, it's going to be, it would have been Ashley Cole, but then I didn't realise he only won 3 Premier Leagues. Like it was obviously 2 at Arsenal and then 1 at Chelsea. I thought he'd won a lot more. He's won a lot of trophies, and it was, again, pains me to say, definitely the right decision for him to leave Arsenal for Chelsea, because he look on, he went on the Champions League, FA Cups, etc. And the run we went on post Ashley Cole. We had to wait till 2013 to win our next trophy. But yeah, originally it was Ashley Cole, because I think Ashley Cole as a player, He's one of my favourite big game players. Like, it didn't matter who he was playing against, who he was set to play against, they would always have a tough game. And I think, in terms of the art of defending, and then also going forward and becoming more of an offensive kind of threat, Ashley Cole was one of the best to kind of ever do it. But then I just say, like, you're looking at the trophies that he won, and I know it's not the be all and end all, but I think the number of trophies that you have actually won actually comes into discussion when you're talking about the best ever in a particular position. So again, that's why it pays him to say, I think it's John Terry. There was a lot that I just said there, so sorry if I talk too much.
No, I didn't know you were a secret Chelsea fan, but it's fine.
No,
so we've heard Dave make the case for a couple of his beloved Chelsea players, but Henry, you texted me with a really good alternative to both of these when you talked about one of the other great defenders in Premier League history, in Brede Hangeland.
Oh wow!
Like what a superstar he was. What do you think? Do you agree with Dave here, or do you think that Company has a case? Because it seems to me like there are two different arguments going on here, right? I think you could argue that Van Dijk last season had the best season any centre-back has ever had in the Premier League. But that's not enough to be the best Premier League defender ever. You've got to have longevity, and he's probably going to win a Premier League title, but he hasn't won it yet.
Yeah.
Rio Ferdinand won 6. And Rio Ferdinand probably stylistically was a little bit more similar to Van Dijk, maybe. Like, he was that guy who would, he was much more like Van Dijk than, say, Vidic was, where he would, like, step out of the back and, like, spray passes and was very, like, modern kind of centre-back. Henry, what do you think here? What's your opinion?
I'd like to start off by saying any Fulham fan out there will agree that Aaron Hughes and Brede Hangeland were a centre-back partnership unrivalled, certainly in West London. But no, I mean, yeah, I am with Dave on this one. I don't think you can be judged the greatest ever centre-back in Premier League after 18 months of football. I don't think that's true. Also, a name you just mentioned there, Nemanja Vidic, I still think what he achieved in the game is far and beyond anything that Van Dijk's achieved. And people often say, like you said, last season for Van Dijk was such an incredible year for him, and it was. But Vidic in 08-09 was exceptional, like a truly exceptional season for him. He kept more clean sheets than Van Dijk did. They conceded fewer goals. That United team, he put in more blocks, interceptions, tackles. Obviously the stats don't say it all, and he was probably playing within a better system. I'd say defensively, Sir Alex Ferguson's teams were much more astute at defending and much more intelligent, and they sort of knew each other much. The way they operated on the pitch was much more intrinsic. So I think that there's a lot to be said to that. But that season, I was just looking at the 2009 Ballon d'Or, and Vidic finished in the top 15 for that one that season. Okay, and the point is, that season, if you look at the people that finished above him, number one is Messi, you've got Ronaldo, Xavi. He was playing football in an era where, as a centre-back, I don't think he was ever really going to get the respect he deserved in terms of being put up in the lights in the way that Van Dijk got put up in the lights last year. And, and I do think last year was incredible. I really wanted Van Dijk to win the Ballon d'Or. I was really up for that. But, someone like Vidic, I think, has had an individually as good a season as Van Dijk at some point in his career. It maybe just hasn't received the recognition it necessarily deserves. I do, however, think that Van Dijk does have the potential to go on and be the best ever. But I mean, because I still think this Klopp almost dynasty could last for a few years, and I really do think he could accelerate and push on. But as it stands, I don't think it's possible to say so.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to have to end up, though, with 3 or 4 titles and continue to perform at this insane level in order to be in that conversation, though, because John Terry, as much as I hate him, and I do hate him, like in 2004-05, he was a world-class centre-back. In 2014-15, he was a world-class centre-back. And in between, mostly, he was a world-class centre-back. Like, that's a decade of top performance in the Premier League, like under a bunch of different managers. Like Chelsea, even when they were bad, were a pretty good defensive side. And like Liverpool last year allowed 22 goals in the league, which I think is joint 3rd best in Premier League history. But that Chelsea side in 04-05 allowed 15 in the league. Arsenal in 98-99 allowed 17 as well. That was Tony Adams' era. I just think, Yeah, I'd want to see more longevity from him.
Yeah.
Even Vincent Company's got 4 titles, and for Van Dijk at 28 years old to match that, he's basically got to win the next 3, I think.
Yeah, I think, if that's the case, I think that would change things, and, if he can win another Champions League as well, he's been to one final, won one, lost one. If if in 2023 he's won another 3 league titles, then I think it would be a pretty strong argument for, to be honest. But he's obviously got a long way to go.
I don't think Van Dijk's been better than Rio Ferdinand. I don't think he can say he's definitively been a better defender than Rio Ferdinand. I think if you look at what Rio Ferdinand achieved in the game, that's still unbelievable. And that's, there's a reason he was once the most expensive defender in world football and stuff like that. He was exceptional in his own right. So I do think he's got to leapfrog a few people in order to get to where Vincent Company put him. Vincent Company, he was amazing. I love Vincent Company. I'm surprised that he's been so humble to sort of admit and just retract almost everything that he achieved. Some of the most iconic moments in Premier League history. I still think, it's a great group of players to be amongst. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's see where he is in a couple of seasons. But he's got to focus on getting this first title under his belt first.